Welcome back. Little Village, Irving Park, Lakeview, Avondale. These are some of the dense Chicago neighborhoods that have been at the center of immigration enforcement, leading to standoffs and the repeated use of tear gas, potentially violating a federal judge's order. And joining us now are two people who have witnessed this firsthand over the weekend. Brian Culp, an attorney who was in Irving Park, who lives there while agents came down, and Enrique Baena, who was hit with a rubber bullet last week during the raid in Little Village. We thank you both for being here. Brian, so we know that there are videos of the agents and the tear gassing on your block in Irving Park. Give us a blow-by-blow of what exactly happened.
Yeah, I was having coffee on my couch. It was about 9:45 in the morning. I had actually just been watching the NBC5 segment on the TRO hearings before Judge Ellis, ironically, and then I saw some movement out my front yard. I stood up and looked, and there were two CBP agents in full military fatigues who had tackled a gentleman to the ground in my front yard. Of course, at that point, with all the commotion going on outside that I could see, I ran outside and I witnessed, the agents detaining this guy as a lot of my neighbors came out and as a lot of other people who were in the area were responding as well.
And Enrique Baena, how about you? In Little Village, you were struck by a rubber bullet. Tell us the events that led up to that.
Well, I first seen the helicopter circling around one of the spots near the discount mall, and I started hearing whistles. So I headed where the noise was coming from, and then as soon as I got there, I had my meta glasses on, so I started recording, and I went to the front of the crowd, but I didn't say a word. I was just there to record, and there was already a whole line of people, and I'm gonna say at least 30 seconds after I got there, the agent just points right at me and shoots me right in the neck right here. Luckily, the swelling went down already, and it didn't hit me right in the throat, and it didn't hit me in the eye or in the face, where it could have done way more damage.
And we're looking at some images of that this week, which have now been entered into the court record. As we know, Mr. Bovino is going to be in court tomorrow. But Brian, he has said, Mr. Bovino, that they're only doing this when they're provoked, when they're in danger, that when they've given warnings. Is that the way you saw it?
No, not at all. None of my neighbors had weapons. None of my neighbors were making physical contact. None of my neighbors were making any kind of verbal threats. And I want to place the emphasis on the fact that I'm using the word neighbors, because that's who these people were. They weren't paid activists. They weren't protests. These were literally people who were in their homes on the weekend before Halloween, with their families, and then this happened. And I mean, the reason I want to emphasize the Halloween part is because, as has been reported, there was literally supposed to be a neighborhood Halloween parade right down the street where the little kids were going to be. So there were families out, who had to see this and whose children had to see this and were traumatized by this. But in no way, shape, or form did anything that anybody do that day on the street justify throwing a smoke grenade on my block or taking my 70-year-old neighbor to the ground and breaking 6 of his ribs.
7
years old.
7 or 70?
70.
70.
70.
Okay. And that's the running club guy, right? He was
Correct.
running. Yeah, right.
Correct.
There's an online video of him being
his coach.
Why do you think they took him to the ground? Was he?
I don't know the circumstances that led to it, but even if for some reason those agents feared that he was in some way a threat to them, based on my experience in and with law enforcement, there is absolutely no reason for that level of force. There is nothing he could have possibly been doing that would have necessitated taking him to the ground so violently that he broke 6 ribs.
And we should mention that you're an attorney and you worked for the city and the county as the state attorney as well.
I am not some leftist. I am not some leftist activist. I used to represent Chicago police officers in 1983 cases in federal court. I've appeared before Judge Ellis as an attorney. And then shortly after that, rather, I also was an assistant state's attorney with the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. So I was a prosecutor, and I worked hand in glove with law enforcement and with Chicago police officers.
Right, so you have got some experience in these matters. Enrique Baena, what about in Little Village? Because Commander Bovino has said that the reason for the tear gas was he was struck in the head by a rock. Did you see protesters throwing things, throwing objects at some of the agents?
As soon as I got there, no. It was, even if they were able to go through, there was already a line of cars behind us. So they wouldn't even be able to go forward regardless. And nobody threw anything that I seen. And even after I was pepper sprayed, I cleaned my eyes, and I was still able to see good enough that nobody threw anything.
So you were hit with a rubber bullet at point blank range and pepper sprayed. I mean, tell me about the physical harm of that.
Well, the pepper ball, it exploded on my neck, so
Ah,
everything went up and under my glasses. So the pepper ball got into my eyes too. So
and
that's what ended up like making my eyes tear up, man. Luckily, there was people with water on hand, and I was able to wash away all the pepper that landed in my eyes, and I was able to see and start recording again.
what about what did you record? I mean, what did you see? Did you see agents acting aggressively with protesters? Did you see protesters provoking them? How did it go down?
Everyone was just in a single file line around them, and it was even young kids. There was older people. There was people my age, and nobody was doing anything to them. We were just telling them to move back
Brian,
and get out.
and as you know, both of you know that Commander Bavino is going to be questioned by Judge Ellis, who has another emergency hearing. Clearly, it's a sign that she's probably very frustrated with these images that are coming out. What would you like to see her ask the commander tomorrow?
I'd like to see her ask the commander if he is taking or doing anything rather to hold these agents accountable. I mean, we haven't heard anything at any point from CBP or frankly even ICE saying that they've maybe been a little bit too aggressive here, or maybe they went a little bit overboard here. They're not willing to cede any territory whatsoever, and they're essentially claiming that their actions are unreviewable by any court. So I would like to see her question him in a way that at least gives the opportunity for these agents to be held accountable for their lawlessness.
Enrique, how about you? Again, Commander Bavino, who was on the scene in Little Village, who, by all intents and purposes, has been sort of the leading figure of Operation Midway Blitz. What would you like to see the judge ask him?
I just wanted to ask. Hopefully, they ask them why they're using so much excessive force against protesters and even the people that they are arresting. I've seen people get tackled. I've seen people get thrown into the cars, get thrown on the floor. It's like way too much aggression on their part for people that aren't doing anything to them.
You know, in places like Little Village, Brighton Park have high immigrant populations, but then when you come to like Irving Park or Lakeview, were they just there because they thought there were construction workers or laborers there?
Yeah, my understanding from what's been reported and from what I learned on scene, because I spoke with the young man's brothers who were with him at the time, he's a 35-year-old father of two who's been here since he was 4 when his parents brought him here from Mexico. So
This is someone they detained.
right. I mean, so this is not the worst of the worst. This is someone who came into our country completely, I'm not going to say, against their will, but he was a kid. He didn't make that conscious choice to come here as a child. And now he's made a family for himself. He's made a life for himself. But apparently this is who they're after, and this is who they need to use military tactics to take into custody. And as he just said, I mean, I couldn't put it better myself. It's excessive force. It is pure and simple. It is excessive force. It's not to say that if they feel threatened, they are not allowed to use force, but it has to be reasonable under the circumstances. That is the hallmark of the Fourth Amendment, and none of this is reasonable. Tear gassing and smoke grenading neighborhoods, that's not reasonable under any circumstances.
And we certainly seem to see more and more images coming even after the court cases. So we'll see how Judge Ellis handles that tomorrow. But thank you both for being here. Enrique Baena, Brian Kolb, really appreciate your perspectives.